Hello, Geoff here from the University of Canberra, and I'm here with Michelle Grattan discussing the week in politics. Hello, Michelle.
Hi, Geoff.
So another interesting week, as we see every week, but China has formally arrested the Australian-Chinese writer and democracy advocate Dr. Yang Hengjun on suspicion of espionage. So Foreign Minister Maurice Payne has made a strong statement calling for his humane treatment and actually given assurance that he was not an Australian spy. So the Australian government is being particularly forthright in this instance, but can Australia exert pressure in this case?
It can't really do much more than speak out strongly. It's interesting that it's taken the line of being forthright rather than being more softly and thinking that that might help things if it's more diplomatic. But in the end, really, China will do as it will, and beyond strong representations, there's not much that we can really do.
So I guess again we'll see how this one plays out. So now the Attorney General, Christian Porter, has released the government's draft religious discrimination legislation. So the legislation imposes actually tougher rules on big businesses compared to small ones, especially for indirect discrimination, such as standards relating to dress. Is this a reasonable approach?
Well, I think that the whole question of this legislation really is one that raises the issue of whether we actually need the legislation. It came out of the gay marriage issue. The Turnbull government promised an inquiry into religious freedom, really to placate the Conservatives who were on the losing side of that debate. We had a report and now we've got this legislation. But the result of this is that I think that there'll be a lot of argument about the detail and a lot of confusion about how it would actually operate. Now, as you say, there are special provisions for large businesses. They will have to show, if they're to justify any discrimination in dress or things of that sort, that in fact their bottom line would be hit if they don't act. As for the Israel-Folau case, which of course has been at much of the centre of the debate, well, Christian Porter said that Folau would have a defence against his removal in a similar case. Of course, it's not retrospective, but the company, or Rugby Australia rather, would have to show that it was financially disadvantaged by his actions. And that would be, I think, quite a complicated process. My feeling is that the danger in all this, or one of the dangers, is that it does turn into a lawyer's bonanza.
So we've seen the New South Wales ALP Secretary, Kaila Murnain, has been suspended after revelations that she knew as early as 2016 about Labor taking unlawful donations. The allegation is $100,000 from a Chinese property developer. And of course in New South Wales it's illegal to take donations from a property developer. So what are the consequences of these revelations for the New South Wales Labor Party?
It really has caused a crisis in the party. I think it shows the bad goings on that happened some years ago with these donations. It has involved cover-ups allegedly by the party, and it really has, in a broad sense, corrupted the political process. And now Labor has to try and regroup. There's talk even that there's maybe a need for federal intervention in the New South Wales branch to try and fix up things. Certainly the state leader has been very critical of the situation. So it just shows that money can be such a destructive and corrupting force in politics.
It's quite a serious situation for them at the moment. So staying with the ALP news, we've seen that union boss John Setka's case in the Victorian Supreme Court has been dismissed. And it was dismissed on the basis that the court does not interfere with internal decisions of voluntary, unincorporated associations. So does this mean that the Labor leader, Anthony Albanese, will be able now to expel John Setka from the party.
It's one more step along what's turned out to be a very long road for Anthony Albanese, who said some time ago that Setka had to go, that he wasn't wanted in the ALP, he didn't fit, his behaviour was totally inappropriate, and comments he'd made, of course, about Rosie Batty, but also other general behaviour over the years. But while the court case went against him, the judge also said that if he was wrong about the court not having a power to intervene in an organisation's activity, then the Victorian rules of the party might be supreme over the national rule. So there could be a whole new argument about whether the national ALP, the national executive, can expel Setka, or whether it has to go to the Victorian branch. Now, if it has to go to the Victorian branch, goodness knows how it would work out there. So I think that Anthony Albanese has a way to go yet. He'll probably succeed in the end in getting this rogue union official out, but it's a pretty difficult situation.
Thank you, Michelle, and we look forward to hearing more about what's happening in politics next week.
Thanks, Geoff.